Sup guys, it's Alex here, and today I have a new bracketology update for you guys. This one is for February 1st, as you can see right there. This is for Joe Lunardi's most recent bracketology. But before I get into it, I just want to say, if you're new to the channel, I'm going to be doing an NCAA tournament ticket giveaway for 2,000 subscribers if I reach it by March 1st. Today is February 1st, so we have one more month to go. All we need is 106 more subscribers, so we're almost there. And so if you can go ahead and subscribe right now, that would be great. That way we can get to 2,000 by March 1st, and I'll be giving away an NCAA tournament ticket. So that'll be really fun if you guys get to go, and I want to see some pictures, videos, vlogs, stuff like that. Last year I sent somebody to Pittsburgh for getting to 1,000 subscribers. Hopefully we can get to 2,000 subscribers this time around. And I'll be going to the Louisville versus North Carolina game tomorrow. Number 9 North Carolina at number 15 Louisville. I'm so freaking excited for this. I mean, it'll be in Louisville. It's going to be a great atmosphere, a whiteout game. I'll probably be vlogging it, not 100% sure, but if I do, the video will be up Saturday, so excited for that. I'm recording this video at 9:28, so I don't know if this video is going to be going up here in like half an hour, if it won't be until later tonight. I mean, you guys will know by the time this goes up, but yeah, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the bracketology, and just make sure that you guys subscribe if you are new. So after another crazy week of college basketball, where there were some upsets like Kansas losing to Texas and some other stuff like that, Joe Lunardi's released his new bracketology. Not a whole lot of changes. I mean, Duke remains a 1, Minnesota's up to a 9. I'll just kind of go over the major moves and stuff like that. Alabama's now safely in the field as an 11 seed. George Mason's up to a 14. Ohio State is now down to a 10. Then we'll go over here to the Louisville Regional, where I will be at the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 in Louisville. I'm so excited for that. It's the first row of like the top section. I went ahead and bought the tickets, and I'll definitely be vlogging that for you guys. I'm so excited for that. But we have Baylor, who's now up to a 9. They're way ahead of schedule on their rebuild. Houston's now down to a 4, even though they got surpassed by Louisville, and more on that later. Jacksonville State is new to the field as a 14. Indiana is now down to the play-in game after losing to Rutgers a couple days ago. They're probably going to be out of the tournament, which is crazy to think because they were like a 4 seed at one point this season. Michigan State is now down to a 2 seed because their rival Michigan is now up to a 1 seed, which is absolutely hilarious. New Mexico State is now new to the field. Maryland is down to a 6. Florida and Seton Hall are the play-in game. Louisville is now up to a 3, as I mentioned earlier. They have a huge game against North Carolina. Maybe could go up to a 2 seed if they win that game. We'll see what happens. Old Dominion is now new to the field as well. Nebraska is down to a 10 after losing to Wisconsin at home. And speaking of Wisconsin, they are now up to a 5 seed with Ethan Happ. Woodford's now down to a 12, and then there's just like matchup movements and stuff like that. Most teams are still seated around the same as they were, and we'll go ahead and go to the playing games down here. Last 4 byes, Nebraska and UCF, then Alabama and St. John's. Last 4 in, Florida, Indiana, who's playing their way out at the moment, Arizona State, who got a big overtime win against Arizona last night, and then Seton Hall. First 4 out are VCU, Temple, Utah State, San Francisco, and then the next 4 out are Arizona, Creighton, Butler, and Clemson. So if you guys are new to the channel, you know that I do a bracketology on Bracketify.com. I go ahead and put all the teams that are in Joe Lunardi's bracketology and put them into an interactive bracket for you guys to go ahead and vote. The link for this will be in the description, so make sure you guys click that after the video. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into my picks, and then we'll start moving on from there. So we have number 1. We have Duke versus Prairie View A&M and Sam Houston State. I think that one's going to be pretty obvious. You can Sharpie this one like Seth Davis did, and we'll have Duke moving on there past Prairie View A&M. Then TCU and Minnesota. I think this matchup's going to be really good. I honestly don't know who would win. I know I saw Minnesota short a couple of like bracketologies ago. Not 100% sure who would win this time around, but I'm going to go with Minnesota just because I know a little bit more about their team. I know TCU just beat Florida, but I like Minnesota at this point. LSU with Naz Reid, I know last week I had them losing first round to Murray State, but I like them this time in the matchup against Hofstra. Villanova and Northern Kentucky. As much as I like Northern Kentucky, there's no way they beat Villanova here. Buffalo and Alabama. I'm going to go with Alabama right here with the 11-6 upset. Alabama's been looking good recently. I mean, they almost beat Tennessee in Knoxville. I mean, that besides for a weird travel call there at the end, they could have tied it up and sent it overtime. And they did beat Kentucky, so I mean, there's that too. And Alabama's looking pretty good. And Purdue will beat George Mason. Then I think that Florida State will be Ohio State. I'm kind of worried for Ohio State fans that they might not make the NCAA tournament at this point. I know they just snapped their losing streak this past week, but I don't know if it'll be too much. I don't know how they'll fare in the rest of the Big Ten play and how other teams will perform them or if they'll outperform them. And Kentucky, I think, will beat Lehigh. Michigan will beat Rider. NC State and Ole Miss, I don't think Ole Miss is going to be in the tournament a month and a half from now, but we'll see what happens there. And I think NC State wins after the crazy buzzer beater they had against Clemson. I think they beat Ole Miss. Same with Texas Tech over New Mexico State. Same with Nevada over Texas State. Then Maryland and the winner of Florida and Seton Hall, which Seton Hall did beat Kentucky earlier in the season, but I like Florida beating Seton Hall in that matchup, and then Maryland beating Florida. And then Louisville, a surprise team, this season was going to be a success if they made the NCAA tournament. And now look at them. They're now a 3 seed in Chris Mack's first year. They could be a 2 seed if they beat North Carolina and sweep the season series against North Carolina. They already have a win over Michigan State. I definitely like him in this matchup here against Old Dominion. I like Kansas State with Dean Wade, and I want to say either Bruce or Barry Brown. I can't remember. One of them played for Miami. I like them over Nebraska. Same with Gonzaga over UC Irvine. Virginia will beat Northern Colorado. I think that Baylor will get the 9 over 8 here. They've been looking really good, as I mentioned earlier, and I think they'll beat Washington. Iowa State will beat Lipscomb. Then Houston will beat Yale. Mississippi State, I think, will beat the winner of Arizona State and Indiana, which I think obviously at this point it would be Arizona State. I think Mississippi State's the better team right there. Marquette will beat Jacksonville State, who are now the Ohio Valley Conference representatives. John Morant and Murray State are out of the tournament at this point in time because they got absolutely murdered by Jacksonville State last night. Hopefully we get to see John Morant in the NCAA tournament, but right now they got to step up their game. Right click there. And then Cincinnati and Texas. Whenever I was making the last bracketology, they were beating Kansas in that video, and then they ended up beating Kansas. So I like them here beating Cincinnati. I think Texas should be a 9 seed at this point. Michigan State, I think, will beat Loyola Chicago. There's going to be no Cinderella run from them this year. Tennessee will beat the winner of Norfolk State and Robert Morris. I think Syracuse gets the dub here over Oklahoma. Wisconsin and Ethan Hatt beat Wofford. Then Virginia Tech will beat Vermont. Iowa, I think, will beat St. John's. Kansas will beat Mike Daum and South Dakota State. And in a rematch of a bowl game from last year where UCF got to say they were undefeated, I think it's going to be the opposite here in basketball. I think Auburn beats UCF. And then North Carolina will beat Radford. Then for a spot in the Sweet 16, Duke versus Minnesota. Obviously, I think I'm going to go with a more talented team here. I'm going to go with Duke. Then LSU and Villanova. This game would be really good. I'm actually going to go with the undefeated team in conference play. LSU, Villanova might be undefeated in conference play too. I didn't think about that whenever I said it. But I like LSU with this matchup here. I think LSU is a tougher team at this point. I think they have a bit more talent than Alabama and Purdue. As much as I want to go with another upset pick here, I got to go with Purdue. They scared me last night against Penn State, but they were able to pull out the victory and win by 9. I like Purdue beating Alabama there. Then Kentucky, I think, will beat Florida State. Michigan will beat NC State. Then Texas Tech and Nevada. I like the Martin twins and the experience in Nevada here. I just don't think Texas Tech can get anything going on offense at this point. I think Louisville will beat Maryland, and then Gonzaga will beat Kansas State. I know I don't have a lot of upsets right now, but stay tuned. I know that was a criticism of one of my last videos. Virginia will beat Baylor, I think. Iowa State, I think, will do a 5/4 upset over Houston. Marquette will beat Mississippi State. Then I'm going to go with an upset pick here. As much as I want to pick Michigan State moving on, they were just a 1 seed. They lost Joshua Langford for the season, and they're prone to upsets in the NCAA tournament. Look at last year with Syracuse. I'm going to go with the upset pick here. Texas just beat Kansas. I'm picking Texas over Michigan State. And Tennessee will beat Tyus Battle and Syracuse. I think Wisconsin and Ethan Hatt will lose to Virginia Tech. Switching it up on you guys there. And then, I didn't pick that one. Virginia Tech. Then Kansas, I think, will beat Iowa. Then North Carolina will beat Auburn. Then for a spot in the Elite Eight, I think Duke just overpowers LSU here. Same with Kentucky over Purdue. Michigan, I think, will beat Nevada. And then I'm going to go with another upset pick here. I think Louisville goes over Gonzaga here. Now, hear me out. Louisville's a really tough team. They play scrappy. I know Gonzaga is a top 5 team in the nation, but I think Louisville will be battle-tested throughout the ACC and catch Gonzaga off guard for a game. I'm putting Louisville in the Elite Eight. Then Virginia and Iowa State. I'm going with another upset pick here. I'm picking Iowa State over Virginia. Virginia is another team that doesn't have a good history of NCAA tournament runs, and I like Iowa State's high-powered offense. I'm going with the 5/1 here. Then Marquette, I think, will beat Texas. Then Tennessee, I think, will beat Virginia Tech. Then we have Kansas and North Carolina. This was the thumbnail from last video. I'm going to go with North Carolina winning that matchup. Then Duke versus Kentucky. I'm switching up this time. I'm going Kentucky. They absolutely mauled Vanderbilt on Tuesday, and I think this will be a really good matchup. There's no way Kentucky loses by 34. And just for the sake of switching it up and being a believer in Kentucky at the moment, I mean, they're one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team in the nation, I'm going with Kentucky. And Michigan and Louisville, rematch of the 2013 national championship game. Poor Louisville. I mean, they won that game. They were the champions, but it got vacated. So who knows who won the 2013 championship? But I like Michigan in this rematch going to the Final Four. Then Marquette and Iowa State. You guys know Marcus Howard and Marquette are moving on. And Tennessee and North Carolina. I like Tennessee in that matchup. Kentucky and Michigan, battle of Kentucky versus the Kentucky transfer Charles Matthews. I'm picking Kentucky to the national championship game here. I think these two teams played a couple seasons ago in like the Elite Eight or something like that. I like Kentucky moving on here. They're one of the hottest teams in the nation with Tyler Hero and Ashton Higgins leading the charge. And Marquette and Tennessee. As much as I want to pick Marquette moving on to the national championship game with Marcus Howard, I like Tennessee here. Then it's going to be an all-SEC matchup in the national championship game. Kentucky and Tennessee. And Tennessee's been struggling. Recently, they've been struggling to put away opponents while Kentucky's been blowing them out of the water. They beat Auburn on the road by 2, then destroyed Mississippi State at home. Then were able to beat Kansas, and now they're going to beat Tennessee. So, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all later.